Welcome to episode 3 of Building Your Life from the Inside Out. We explore a paradigm shifting idea around personal growth and potential. Our journey explores the concepts of biology being at the core of human capacity. And without your body's ability to produce cellular energy efficiently and consistently, growth becomes impossible. In the last 2 episodes, we established that human capacity depends on energy. Your ability to focus, regulate emotion, make decisions, and build a meaningful life all depends on whether your brain has enough energy to support those functions. But where does that energy actually come from? Inside nearly every single cell in your body, there are small organelles called the mitochondria. They are best known for producing ATP, which is the usable currency in your cells. But modern biology shows that they can be much more than that. They help regulate stress responses, they do reduction oxidation balance, calcium handling, cell survival, and communication with the rest of the cell and organism. That organism being you. So if you want to understand human capacity, you need to understand mitochondria. Now, most people learn one thing about mitochondria, and that is they make energy. This is true, but incomplete. Mitochondria generate ATP through something called oxidative phosphorylation. It's not important that you know the name, but that ATP that's produced is essential for every energy demanding process in the body. But mitochondria are not just passive batteries. Reviews in Cell and other major journals describe them as dynamic organelles. They integrate nutrient sensing, stress signaling, something called autophagy, which is your body's ability to get rid of old cells, apoptosis, planned death of a cell, and organism-level physiology. In other words, mitochondria do not simply supply power. They help determine how well cells respond to stress, how efficiently they adapt, how much oxidative burden they can handle, and whether they can maintain function over time. That's why mitochondria are better thought of as an engine rather than a battery. An engine doesn't just store energy. It converts fuel into stable power, responds to the demands, and then determines the performance under load. Now, this matters everywhere in the body, but it matters especially in the nervous system. Neurons are extraordinarily dependent on mitochondrial function because they have to continuously maintain something referred to as ion gradients. They have to support transmission of information via the synapses. They have to transport cellular materials over long distances and remodel nerve connections when learning occurs. That makes them especially vulnerable when mitochondrial quality control begins to fail. So when we talk about mental stamina or clarity, motivation, resilience, we're not talking about abstract psychology floating above the body. We're talking about functions built on cellular engines. This is where the idea becomes clinically and philosophically important. If mitochondria are functioning well, cells can do multiple things. They generate ATP efficiently, they buffer stress more effectively, they manage oxidative load, and maintain higher order brain processing for longer. Now, if mitochondrial function declines, several things begin to happen. Energy output becomes less reliable, oxidative stress increases, signaling becomes less stable, and adaptation becomes harder. At the level of lived experience, this can show up as fatigue, reduced cognitive stamina, poor stress tolerance, slower recovery, and less capacity for sustained goal-directed behavior. Now, science usually measures these through things like cognition, vitality, psychiatric symptoms, or disease burden, rather than through a variable called life direction. But the inference is strong. If the machinery required for energy and adaptation is compromised, the person's usable capacity also narrows. So mitochondria don't determine your destiny, but they do help determine the range of performance and adaptation that a human being can access. One of the most important modern developments in this field is the recognition that mitochondria are deeply involved in stress biology. Picard and colleagues describe mitochondria as participating in psychobiology, not just the energetics of the cell. They help shape how an organism responds to psychosocial and physiological stress, and how chronic stress can in turn alter mitochondrial function. That means resilience is not just a personality trait. Part of resilience is biological. Essentially, a person with more robust mitochondrial function may be better able to meet energy demands, recover from challenges, and maintain cellular function under stress. A person with impaired mitochondrial function may experience the same life demand as far more costly. This is partly an inference, but it is grounded in the literature on mitochondrial stress adaptation and what we call allostatic burden. This is a major shift in perspective. Sometimes what looks like fragility is actually energy inefficiency under load or increased stress. People often want to become different, more disciplined, more stable, more creative, have a higher sense of purpose, but change requires plasticity, and plasticity requires energy. Reviews on neuron mitochondria show that bioenergetic challenge can stimulate adaptations involved in mitochondrial creation, antioxidant defense, autophagy, and stress resistance. Mitochondrial function is closely tied to the maintenance of the synapses and the cellular remodeling required for learning and adaptation. So, identity transformation is not just mental effort, it is also a biological event. The brain has to have enough energy, enough resilience, and enough adaptive capacity in order to rewire itself. That means mitochondria sit under not just performance, but this idea of becoming something new or becoming different. This is also why mitochondrial dysfunction appears across many diseases involving high-demand tissues, especially the nervous systems. Reviews describe mitochondrial dysfunction as central to a wide range of neurological, psychiatric, metabolic, and age-related conditions. The literature is careful here. Mitochondria are not always the single root cause, and not every symptom can be reduced to mitochondrial dysfunction. But the pattern is consistent enough to matter. When mitochondrial health declines, function declines. When mitochondrial resilience improves, capacity often improves. And that's a deeper message of this episode. Mitochondria are the engines that convert biology into usable human capacity. If episode 1 taught that energy is the currency of human capacity, and episode 2 taught that the brain is one of the most energy demanding organs in the body, then episode 3 teaches us mitochondria are the engines that produce, regulate, and protect capacity. So before we ask for more focus, more resilience, more transformation, we should ask, how well are the engines running? Because the life you can build is shaped by the power your biology can sustain. Build your life from the inside out.